Ah, yes, fursuiting. The thing go- Oh my god! Let's try this again. Ah, yes, fursuiting. The thing us furries absolutely love to do because it allows us to visually animate our persona as if they were a real-life physical entity. By putting on our fursuit, we enter a different state of mind, a different dimension, the furry dimension. And hopefully doing it somewhere it's safe, legal, and won't get you into trouble. Hi everyone, my name is Stormi the Folf, and today I'd like to talk about public fursuiting. While fursuiting is always encouraged at furry conventions and typically allowed at anime conventions, what about places like the neighborhood park, the mall, Walmart, or your friend's house? Let's get into that. Now, when it comes to fursuiting, most of us think of the furries you'd see at a furry convention like AnthroCon or Midwest Fur Fest. But outside of conventions, where else can you fursuit? Now, as I discussed in a previous video, furry meetups through local social media pages and Telegram chats are an excellent way to find other fursuiters. Meets are often held in public areas or private businesses. Like the one I attend actually takes place at a comic book shop. Other fur meets might take place at, say, like a bowling alley or even an arcade. Now keep in mind these meets are all scheduled and were agreed upon by the business owners. If they just all showed up one day in suit without speaking to one of the managers or scheduling anything, they would probably get thrown out almost immediately. But what if you're not attending a meet? What if you just want to go on a random fursuit adventure to see what happens? Do not do this! Do not pass go! Do not collect 200 potatoes. First of all, you do not want to go fursuiting alone. You need a handler, someone who can help you not only navigate the terrain so you don't trip and fall, but also assist you in staying hydrated and taking breaks. Fursuiting in the park sounds like a fun idea, right? Think about it. You got a swing set, a slide, things to climb over. It'd make a great place to do a photo shoot. Now, in the US, while this might be legal in some cities, others, such as the New York area, actually have a mask law, I believe. And guess what? This fursuit head I'm wearing falls right under it. Because my real face is covered up, obviously. Whew, I forgot to breathe again. That means if you're going suiting in the park that has a mask law, you could get into a lot of trouble. Now the officer will probably only give you a verbal warning like, okay, just don't do that again. But there's always a chance you can get a ticket or a citation for violating the law. Remember that if you go suiting at your local park and you don't research the laws in your area, you're taking a risk. It might be a small one, but there's always a small possibility an officer might show up and scold you. But that's if your area has such a law in effect. Now I suspect it's bigger cities that are more interested in enforcing such a law, but I by no means do not claim to be an expert on this subject. Do your research first. Now for the most part, when it comes to suiting outdoors on your own property, I don't really think there's any law that says you can't full suit in that area. If you're suiting around a public neighborhood, however, that might fall back on any mask laws that affect nearby parks. Again, I'm not a legal expert, you have to research this for yourself. Just because it's legal in my town doesn't mean it's going to be legal in yours. Now, suiting on a place like a college campus or whatever, it's kind of in a gray area, especially if you live on campus. I know the university where I live usually doesn't care if you walk around suiting so long as it's on your own time and not during class, obviously. Still though, don't be surprised if security approaches you and asks what you're doing covered in fur. Now when it comes to suiting in private businesses, it's gonna be a little different. So what if you want to suit like at Walmart, the mall, or another private business like a bowling alley or a game room? Do your research, ask the manager, and take it from me, Walmart will probably throw you out for fursuiting, even if you do have one of those mask-a-mole things. Don't risk it unless you want to get banned from Walmart property. This also applies to any other big box retailers like Target and so on, and well, just businesses in general. You don't want to show up to any private business in fursuit, especially if you don't know anyone there. Now, entertainment venues like a gaming room or bowling alley or movie theater might have a different viewpoint on this matter. Places like this will often host parties, so there's a good possibility they'll accept a party of suitors, like for a meetup. But that doesn't mean you and your fursuiting friendos can all waltz in anytime you want. you need to speak with the manager for setting up such an event. Most meetups are 100% private, so if you're not on the list, you're not coming in. Now, if you're suiting alone and you enter a business, you might be climbing a steep hill. A really steep hill. You need to give the business owner an incentive to let you enter the property and suit. They're there to make money. Now, sometimes this might not be the case, especially if you know the managers or the owners really well. They might just let you suit no matter what, but that's not going to be the case with everyone. The point I'm trying to make is talk with the managers first before you show up in full suit and freak everyone out and get banned from their property. Business owners have to protect their investments, and while we might see fursuiting as a fun hobby, it might come off as something foreign to them. We could be a potential distraction to their business flow, and that's not something you want. Call them. Let them know that you'd like to set up a group or a party meet. They'll be more interested in your proposition if you don't go alone. Now, with indoor trampoline parks, I find that many, at least in my area, will not let you suit on their equipment because they don't want to be held liable for any damage that might occur to your fursuit while you're bouncing around. They're trying to cover themselves and are entitled to that right, as unfair or sucky as it may be. They have to protect themselves from lawsuits. Now, if they are open to the idea of suing, they might ask you to sign a waiver form, basically stating they are not responsible for any damages that may occur to your suit or injuries that may cause to you. Again, this is to cover themselves from any potential legal action. If your local animal shelter occasionally has days where they're giving away or discounting adoption fees, this is an excellent opportunity for fursuiting and can bring in even more people. Give them a call and ask if they'd be okay with you showing up in fursuit. There are a lot of opportunities here. That being said, however, be wary around pets. They can damage or even destroy your suit if you're not careful. During Halloween, at least in North America, it's common to dress up in, well, Halloween costumes. Your local mall might hold a trick-or-treat event. So, where do fursuits fit in this? The way I see it, they're treated like any other costume, including any mask policy that may be in effect. Just because one place says you can go in full get-up during Halloween doesn't mean other events will share the same policy. Check with the leader or the manager of said events to make sure there's no mask policy in effect. If there isn't, you'll probably be fine, but if you feel bold and daring, you could ask if fursuits are allowed. This, of course, applies to any other business or public setting that partakes in Halloween. Check the rules first. Now, let's talk about places you should never, ever fursuit. The bank. If you walk into the doors of any bank, you'll see a few signs that are probably asking you to remove your hat and or mask if you have one. That means you, bub. You could get treated like a criminal if you're trying to cash a check in fursuit. I'm talking about getting thrown out and possibly arrested. Don't do this at any police station either, seriously. I shouldn't have to explain why that's a stupid idea. And the hospital. I can understand why you'd want to suit here. Maybe you have a family member or a friend that's battling a terrible illness. They got into a horrible car accident, or they're about to undergo surgery, and you want to drop by to visit them and reassure them that everything will be okay, right? Just show up to their room in full suit to put a smile on their face. If only we were allowed to do that. Let me explain. Hospitals are usually private institutions that have to operate on the same safe level basis of a bank or a police station. People want to feel safe and protected in a hospital. Their job is taking care of patients and saving lives. By showing up unannounced in fursuit, not only do you endanger the lives of others, but I almost guarantee you that an officer is going to throw you out. Or worse. Treat fursuiting in the hospital the same way you treat fursuiting at the bank. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do it, do not. Do not do it. But I'm not done yet. There are some instances where suiting might be considered acceptable, like say at a children's hospital. Think about the kids who might be battling cancer. If you're able to reach out to the leaders of the hospital, you can possibly work out a scheduled day where you and other suitors could meet up and interact with the children. It's an amazing way to give them hope throughout the struggles of their conditions. If this is something you want to do, get a group together and call the manager to see if you can make it happen. But remember, because it's a hospital, They have strict rules to follow, and having fursuiters in the facility may not sit well with them. Now let's talk about dangers and risks. Remember, once you set foot outside of your property in fursuit, you are open to a lot of more dangers, like stray animals, angry people, and of course the weather itself. If you're suiting outdoors, plan everything accordingly and avoid areas where crime may thrive. This is one of the big reasons you don't go alone. Have at least one person to act as your handler. As I said before, don't go alone. Also, take extreme caution if you're suiting out in the summer. Where I live, temperatures can approach nearly 100 degrees Fahrenheit during the summer, and wearing a fursuit in that weather can be deadly. Wait till it gets colder or fursuit indoors where there's air conditioning. Oh, and no matter where you go, have a handler and keep supplies stocked like water and the occasional snack. I made a whole video on fursuit handlers if you or your friends need advice. Like, it'll be somewhere up here, I think, or right here. Random thought, but I once had an experience where I was at a fursuit party at an arcade, but there were also some non-suitor, non-furry customers as well, which is fine by me, but one of them said they were really scared of the fursuiters, and that's not the kind of publicity we want, especially if a private business opens their doors to us, but we can't exactly control how people see fursuiters either, so catch-22, I guess. Now, hopefully I didn't ramble too much and this video helped y'all out at least a little bit. If you found it useful or helpful, consider giving it a like, maybe leave a comment of what's your experience with public suiting, and of course, subscribe and share with your other friendos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!